Hello, hello! Welcome to the Moana Adams podcast. I'm your host, Moana, a 15-year-old with a ton to say about mental health, wellness, self-love, and a whole lot more. So let's get into it. Hello, hello! Welcome to episode 22. I have not recorded in 2-3 weeks now, so I'm excited and also a little bit stressed, but it's fine. And it's also starting to get warmer outside, which is my grateful. But I bring it up already because I am sitting in the car and I always record with it off because it doesn't take me that long, and I'm like, the audio quality is better, it's fine. And really I should open a window, it's very much not the best idea, but it's already starting to warm up in here, and I'm already starting to sweat. So we're just gonna get started with everything. I took a break. There was no episode from me last week, and that's because I really just needed it, and I was hoping that I would be able to get ahead a little bit on some things, and honestly, I didn't. And we're going to be talking about that today. But first, gratefuls currently loving. My grateful is warmer weather. Not at this moment, but it's been much nicer outside, and I've been able to be outside more and sit on the porch and read outside, which is my currently loving. I have started reading again. I was in an 8-month reading slump and read one whole book last year while we were traveling, and it was a great book. And then I didn't pick up another book all year long. But now that we're back, I'm reading again, and I this week have already read almost 2 books. I read the second A Good Girl's Guide to Murder book, Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is so good, and I'm currently reading the third one, and I only have I'm 86% of the way done, so I'm almost done with the third book, and I'm already freaking out about the ending. If you haven't read it, you need to, and if you have read it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I won't give away anything, but I am so excited to read that and finish it, hopefully tonight or tomorrow, and I'm super excited about it. So that's my currently loving. Now, let's talk about finding motivation and finding inspiration and relighting your fire and all those things, because honestly, I definitely need to talk about them, and I'm excited to, because this is something I have been putting off recording for 3 weeks, and so yeah, let's do it. Recently, I have been feeling very uninspired and unmotivated. I don't know what it is. I mean, everything just feels very off, and it's just meh. I feel like everyone can understand what I mean when you say you're just feeling it's not bad or good, it's just in the middle. It's not super exciting, but it's not bad. It's just meh. And so I've definitely been feeling a little bit like a consistency robot recently, especially when it comes to content. I have just been pushing out content, and I haven't been ahead of the game at all. So it's I don't really have a chance to plan out and be creative and then plan everything out and have it scheduled. It's very okay, a reel has got to go out today, I've got to get it done, and I wait till 9 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting there for 30 minutes scrolling, editing, filming, whatever it may be, to get a reel out on whatever Instagram account, or I'm doing right now. It's Saturday, and this episode has to go out on Monday, and I haven't recorded or edited or anything, and so I'm just pushing consistency for everyone else, but there's no consistency for myself, if that makes sense. It's I am making sure that everyone else is seeing pretty much a lot of consistency, especially on Instagram, and then I'm not doing the things that I need to do consistently to keep my motivation and inspiration and passions going, and I'm not doing my morning routine at all, and I'm just pumping out content. And I mean, part of it's because I'm very progress motivated. I'm very motivated by seeing progress, and I'm also kind of a numbers person, and so Mommy just asked me. I just got a text asking if I wanted food, and it's definitely a yes. Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. So, I haven't been doing my morning routine and all that jazz, and on the outside, to everyone else, it seems super great. They're seeing content, and it's pretty consistent. I know podcast episodes haven't been, like, super consistent this year, but, like, my scheduling and stuff is a disaster. And I'm finally to the point where, like, I did an reel a day on the podcast Instagram for 2 straight months, January and February, and all of February was all self-love, and I loved it. There are definitely some things I would have done differently, but I loved it, and I'm at a point personally where I am consistently in love with myself. Like, I am, like, at a point where, like, my confidence is at an all-time high, and I'm, like, proud of the way I look and the way I act, and most of those things I'm very secure in now, which took a lot of work, and I wish that I could just hand out chocolates with the same feeling and just give it to everybody, and it takes a lot of work to get there. And I still have days, I mean, all the time, where I am doubting myself, and I've just been in my head a lot, but, like, on the outside, I feel really, really good. And so I'm working on finding that motivation again and getting inspired, and still trying to get into a new routine now that we're home, and we've been home for 3 months, and or more than that, more than 3 months, and I'm still, like, feeling uninspired after not traveling. But what feels good is that the doubt that I have doesn't affect the fact that I do love myself. And I think that's really, like, an eye-opening thing to realize, is, like, when you get to that point and you realize you're at that point, when you make a mistake or you just have, like, negative self-talk, you're okay with it. You understand why you're feeling that, and you understand that sometimes that happens and it's okay. I'm, like, at a point where I am, like, taking pictures of myself and I feel good about them, and I'm, like, at, like, I can only think of, like, a Spencer Barbosa type point where I'm, like, actually obsessed with myself, but in a good way, obviously, and it just feels really good, and my confidence is really high, and, like I said, self-love February definitely helped, but I'm still, like, internally having trouble, you know, with overthinking social situations or the content that I put out, and that's making me lose motivation and become burnt out, and I'm kind of, like, stuck in this rut from overworking myself by pushing consistent content out, and I'm not doing enough of what makes me feel good and feels my best. I'm not doing my morning routine. I'm not eating the best way I could be, and I'm not consistently climbing and those kinds of things. And I also haven't been on a hike in, you know, I don't think I've been on a hike since February or January. And so, you know, I'm trying to find the motivation to get back into that. And I have been having, like, constant gratification cycle where I'm, like, pumping out content, and usually I'll post a reel and it's like 8 o'clock or something when I put it out, maybe closer to 9 or 7, because those are when my alarms go off. And then the next morning I wake up and I'll, like, see the number of likes, and I'll either feel really good about it, or I'm like, oh, well, the next one will do really good. And so, like, that instant gratification of, like, oh, this one did really well, like, that feels good. And then I move through my day and I'm doing school and, you know, all these things, and it's just, like, sticking me in this constant loop. So we need to go back to the source. So where can we source our motivation? The first thing is, and I know everybody says this, and it kind of annoys me sometimes too, but I'm trying to be better about it, and it's revisiting our whys and why we're doing something, and, you know, making sure that it's really worth our time. I have been going back and forth the past few months about the podcast, and, you know, numbers have been down a little bit, and that's definitely made me compare and not feel great about it. But then I get a message from someone, even people I don't know, saying how they like the podcast, how they listen, and they really love it. And I'm like, maybe it really is worth it. Like, it takes a lot of time and energy to do this. Is it worth it? And revisiting vision boards and looking at those again and reminding ourselves. I had my vision board as my screensaver on my phone or my wallpaper, and I took it off, and now I'm kind of like, I took it off because it wasn't doing anything for me anymore. I was seeing it every single day. I wasn't paying attention to it. And so I think I need to revisit my vision board again and make a new, fresh one and put more focus on why I'm doing the things that I do. Also, like I said, I'm very progress motivated. So I'm trying to look at the progress that I have made overall. I am looking back and I'm using numbers, but I'm focusing on positive things and positive progress that I've made. Also, one of my favorite ways to get motivated is positive content. That's one of the reasons that I do this, is to motivate other people to do the things that make them feel good and make them their best self. And I look at the people who inspire me to do those things and the creators that make me feel good and put out content that excites me and reminds me of my whys. And I'm sure most people have heard this quote before, and I don't know where it's from. I tried to look and I couldn't really find like a source or anything, but I've seen it on Pinterest like a billion times, and it's, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you don't change anything, nothing's gonna change. And remembering that and reminding myself of that often definitely pushes me and gives that little boost of motivation. Also, hitting the reset button, one of my favorite things to do, spring cleaning, minimizing, which we're going to be talking about in a coming episode, is about, decluttering and spring cleaning and living minimally, since I got rid of like almost everything I owned. And then another thing that I definitely find motivation in, and not everybody will, but if you're a competitive person, competition. It might not be one of the healthiest places to source motivation, but it is there. And if you are a competitive person and you're motivated by competition, rather than competing against someone else, compete against yourself, against your past self, and making sure that you're always doing better than what you've left behind. Then the last place that I definitely get motivated from is doing something silly and spontaneous. I'm not saying illegal or anything like that. I know we've talked about this before, but just the small things that bring life back into you and excite you. Dancing in the rain is one of my favorite things. I mean, I dance like at every chance that I get, and so doing small things like that definitely motivate me, remind me of that why, and get me excited to do things. So those are my motivation sources. However, I do want to say that, like I said, I've been feeling like a consistency robot, and there has to be a balance between consistency and motivation. I think that consistency is a really great thing, but if you get stuck in that loop and get this feeling kind of like I've been feeling, where everything is just meh, because you have no motivation and you're solely relying on the consistency, you're going to get stuck. And so balancing those things is really important. And now let's talk a little bit about inspiration, because I feel like these things go hand in hand. You get an idea, you're inspired to do something, and that motivates you to do it. So, where can we source our inspiration? Number one thing, nature. Spending time in nature is really important to me. I'm a climber and a hiker, and so getting outside, like I said, it's warming up. So take some time and go outside every chance you get. If you have a place to sit outside at your house, sit there and do work there and read. And even if you're just scroll while you're sitting outside. I mean, seriously, it's so nice to just like have fresh air. And I feel like it was a long winter, even though, I mean, technically, yes, it was a long winter. I think the groundhog told us that we had extra weeks of winter. But getting outside. And then something that I love, and I know I've talked about this before too, is brain dumps. I love a good brain dump. Anytime I feel like I need to hit that reset button on things, I do a brain dump to get everything, all the emotions, all the thoughts, all the ideas, all the to-dos out on one piece of paper so I can see it all laid out in front of me. And then I'm remembering things and I'm getting inspired by my own things that I've had ideas about, or from things that in the past have inspired me. And then this is something that I've been doing recently. There's a creator that I follow who talks a lot about, Instagram feeds and taking good pictures. And she's a model, I think. I cannot remember her name at this moment. But I feel like it's Nikki, maybe, and her last name starts with a V. I'll link it in the episode notes, her Instagram account or something. But she was talking about the small detail photos that make a really great Instagram feed. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, looking at the small details around you, and it gave me the idea that I need to put more energy and content onto Pinterest. And taking small detail photos like that is really easy because you can find beautiful details in like everywhere. And so when we go out, I'm always looking around at small things and taking photos of them to save. And I'm going to start doing Pinterest more and have those small details. And especially in your own home, sometimes they seem redundant because you're always seeing them, but just like paying attention and focusing more on them. And for me, that's taking a photo, because that's just what I do, is I take photos of every little thing. I took a photo this morning of like the corner of my book and my breakfast next to each other because I was reading at the breakfast table, and I posted on my story, and it's like one of my favorite photos right now. And those small details really get things flowing and can give you ideas. And then another thing that I source inspiration from a ton is just daily life. Even the smallest conversations, sometimes I get an idea and I'm like, I have to talk about that in a podcast episode. And I'll be like, can I make a whole episode about this? And I'll write it down and I'll think about it, and maybe it'll come up again and I'll get another idea and I'll add to it until it becomes a whole full-blown episode. And just the small conversations and the small things and the small problems that need solving, I get the idea and I talk about it on here and share it, and it sparks something, especially when it's that close to you because it's in your own life. And then the next 2.5, 3 things feel like pretty general, but number 1, TED Talks. I go back and forth on these. I'll go through phases where I'm like, yes, I'm going to listen to 10 TED Talks, and I love it. And then I'm like, all right, I don't know who you are. You got Dr. whatever. I don't care what you have to say. Goodbye. And so I go back and forth on it a lot, but it's definitely a great way to get information, a great way to get inspired and motivated, honestly. Some of them are really great. And, I appreciate the people who are experts in their field and they come and they speak on it. And I feel like there's a lot of value in that. And then these two kind of go together. That's why I said like 2.5/3 is meditation and journaling. So I was doing my morning routine like pretty solidly for like a week. And then that was 3 weeks ago. And the last 3 weeks I have not been doing it. So meditation and journaling are things that are important to me and are my morning routine when I actually do them. I love Headspace. And I am going to try and find the link. I got Headspace for free. It's free for teenagers through this program that's offering it. And I'm going to try and find the link because it's incredible to have it. I highly suggest it. And it's feels stupid the first few times, trust me, I know, but put some headphones on and do it literally in bed. I don't even get out of bed. I do it before I get out of bed, and it's the best thing ever. My mom likes the sleep stories. I'm not a fan, but, try it. Don't knock until you try it. There's also tons on YouTube, and then journaling. I've talked about this a billion times. There's an episode all about it that I'll link below, but get those thoughts and ideas on paper. And then this one is kind of what I was saying about looking into your daily life, but having meaningful conversations, I feel like can really spark ideas and bring new thoughts, because you're talking about something very deep, and then you're having someone else add their thoughts into it. And so, I feel like we all should have one person in our life where we really genuinely can talk about deep, meaningful things together. And we don't judge each other for those things. And so find that person in your life and, start conversations and talk about it. And talk about all sorts of things that are really important to you. And you might get some unexpected ideas from it. And then this one's my favorite because I'm obsessed with Pinterest. But Pinterest is literally there for inspiration. And I love it so much. I spend probably too much time on there, but Pinterest, period. I'm not sure there needs to be more said. I have too many pins saved, too many boards, and I love it. And I could not live without Pinterest. That's my happy place right there. And then this one's similar to what I was saying about TED Talks, but looking at other people in your field, especially if you're a content creator. I am always doing content research. The people that I follow are the people who do inspire me and give me ideas, and, you don't have to come up with your own stuff all the time. That's what trends are for, and, recreating other people's content is not stealing. There is a guy, I don't remember his name, and I don't think I could find him, but he is a teacher in the content creation field. He talks a lot about YouTube creation and those kinds of things. And he used to always say, I don't think he's as big of a deal as he used to be, but he used to always talk about how every idea has pretty much already happened. And so, if you use someone else's idea, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whose idea it was first, it matters who does it better. So looking at other people in your fields, getting ideas from their ideas is always a great way. And then this is something that I do a lot, and that's looking back at old pieces of work you've done, especially for me when it comes to reels. I look back at my old reels when I'm feeling like I need ideas and I need some new things to go off of. And so I'll scroll through my own feed and look at them and be like, this one did really well. Why did this one do really well? What did I like about it? What do I not like about it? And see what I come up with. And then this last one is pretty obvious, but also not obvious at the same time, but learning something new. I have a billion different things that I want to learn, languages. I want to learn it all. I like to learn new things and I like to know things. And right now my favorite thing is Crash Course on YouTube. It's a YouTube channel. If you don't know, it's created by John Green and his team. I think he's the one who really started it, but I have always wanted to learn more about psychology, and there's a Crash Course playlist, and they did psychology, and I have it on my list of things to do, to watch the videos, take notes, learn, and, you can learn literally anything on YouTube, so pick something that interests you, and, look it up on YouTube, find a good playlist or something, and just start taking notes and learning, and you might find inspiration in that or new ideas. That's really all I have for today. Like I said, I'm trying to get out of this consistency circle, so be patient with me. And I also know that I talked about last time that we're going to be having guests on, and our first guest should be next episode. Should be. I'm still sorting things out. I am not a teamwork kind of person. I'm a do it solo. So this pulling new people into my world and giving people the opportunity to speak to you and my audience scares me a little bit, because I am very protective and I want all of the content I put out to make you feel good and happy and motivated and inspired, and I am a little bit worried to this is my little family, and I want to keep them safe and protect them, and I don't want to bring someone on who is gonna, put out negative content or whatever it may be. And so I'm pushing through though, and I'm gonna bring guests on for you, and I'm excited for you to learn from them and get to know them, and we're gonna have meaningful conversations about things that interest us, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's all I have for you. Have a good day. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to give this podcast a rate and review, as well as follow me on all my socials linked in the show notes. Don't forget to drink some water, and I'll talk to you later.